Series and parades and such. And, of course, the Steelers coming to town this weekend. Luke Jones will be on the scene in Owings Mills all week long on the backfields. If there's any breaking news, you'll get it first on the WNST text service. And, of course, you can follow our social media everywhere we go on Twitter and Facebook as we get ready for the biggest game of the year. Some would say that the Terps played their biggest game of the year over the weekend out in Bloomington, Indiana. Strangely enough, yes, they're in the Big Ten, and you have to go to Bloomington and play football once in a while. A trip that maybe on this side of the fence we thought would be a little easier. It was not easy. It resulted in a 42-36 loss. Tough loss for the Terps, who dropped to 5-3 and now face the gauntlet of Michigan, Ohio State, and Nebraska back-to-back. Here to talk all things from the Terrapins Radio Network, one of our defending champions and a guy that knows more about Maryland football than anybody. We welcome Tim Strachan back on to the program. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at T13Strachan. That's Strachan. What the heck happened in Southern Indiana over the weekend, Tim? I mean, that wasn't a good look for the Terps, especially after a really nice win over Michigan State 2 weeks ago.
It hurt. It hurt to watch that. It hurt to see how it went down. It was a game that Maryland could have won. Some people could even argue they should have won. But hats off, first of all, to Indiana, and especially Kevin Wilson, the head coach, who's a very, very good offensive-minded coach, to completely get away from what they do best, which is throw the ball, and come up with this wildcat offense that really disrupted what Maryland was doing. They obviously weren't prepared for it because they had not done it at all season. But Kevin Wilson noticed that Maryland's probably weakest on defense and run defense right up the middle, so he devised a plan that really worked for them. Maryland did a pretty good job of adjusting to it at one point, but it was just too much, pounding all day, and you got to give your hats off to the way that Indiana played. But at the same time, Maryland had opportunities that they couldn't see, so that was on both sides of the ball, and obviously even in the special teams. So they didn't put a complete game together, and I think Coach Durkin put it best at the end of the game. He says the margin of error for this team is very, very small. However, if this team plays a very good game like we saw a couple weeks ago, they can be very, very good. So that's why it's frustrating, because you never want to see a team have opportunities and let them squander, but at the same time, you gotta make the plays in order to win, and they just didn't do it this past weekend.
3 guys ran for 100 yards against them on Saturday. I mean,
Crazy.
I don't know that we could have, if we had talked last week about this game, I would have thought that would not have been the outcome, that it would have been turnovers or Hills throwing the ball around too much. And Maryland runs the ball pretty well themselves. I mean, Johnson and Harrison, this has been a nice little 1-2 punch.
Yeah, no, and that was really the tail of the tape for this game, is the way that Indiana came out and were able to switch things up and keep Maryland's defense on their heels. But the bottom line is it's not a secret anymore. In order to rack up a lot of yardage, at least, on the Maryland defense, is to run it between the tackles. And I don't want to disparage the kids. They're working hard. They're giving their best effort, but they're just undersized in the middle, and probably too inexperienced right up the middle from line all the way to the safeties. There's a lot of attrition right now with guys going down in the back. Will Likely, some leadership and things like that. But excuses are excuses, and coach and the players aren't going to say, well, we weren't quite at our game, or we're not quite at 100%. Look, you go out there and you play the best you can and see what happens. But that's what teams are going to do from here on out. They know where that weakness is, and Maryland's got to figure out a way to counteract that on the defensive side of the ball and stop teams from running right through them.
Look, the minute the schedule comes out, you know where this was going, right? This time of the year with Michigan and Ohio State back-to-back. It's part of being in the Big Ten. You're going to see these teams, whether you see them in early October, late October, early November. At some point, you're going to see some version of them that you hope is your best time of the year. And I know that was something Durkin had really tried to build upon. Hey, we're playing these teams in September to get better for October. You go out, you beat the snot out of Purdue. There's a lot of hope, but it really has been Jekyll and Hyde, and that's not unusual in the college game, especially with younger players where you don't have your quarterbacking set. I mean, even Michigan was a little Jekyll and Hyde, winning 78-0 at Rutgers, but they struggled against Michigan State, and I know that that's a border war game, and they play a lot of those, and Harbaugh certainly puts a target on his back, even at Wrigley Field on Sunday night with his old man out there rooting against his father in a Cubs hat, because I know what a big Indians fan, but this is, this has been a struggle week for him, too, because they were supposed to beat Michigan State by more.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm one of those guys where I have my birthday, I stretch it for a week or so. Well, Halloween's gonna last for at least 3 weeks for Maryland football because of what they're going up against. This is a daunting 3-week stretch. And it's going to be tough. They're not going to be favored even in the slightest. They're not even. I mean, they're going to be underdogs big time against all three of these teams. However, I like the way that Durkin also addressed the media after the game because the media wanted to harp on that, how tough the next 3 weeks are going to be, and you might not be able to go bowl eligible until the end of the season against Rutgers. And Durkin just says, how do you coach a team by giving that message? No, we're not talking like that. We're not thinking like that. We have to go this week. We have to prepare as best as we possibly can and put together the best game plan and execute it as best we can against the number 2 team in the nation. And that's it.
And we knew that. We knew that going into the season, whether they were number 2 or number 10.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, they're 30-point underdogs this week, Tim. I mean, that's what Vegas had. Vegas has it at 30. So, you can't coach like that, though.
Look, it is what it is. Look, and as you said, they only beat, I don't like comparing game scores, but they only beat Michigan State by 9. Maryland beat Michigan State by 11. I mean, Maryland, like I said, if their margin of error is little to none, they can be a very good team. Michigan also has some attrition. They've got some bangs and bruises and guys that probably aren't playing at 100%, so you never know what happens. That's why you take, if it was said and done, they might as well not even go up there. But look, you tee it up, you try your best, you see what happens, you learn from mistakes, and it's just going to be interesting to see how this team responds for the next couple of weeks and how they're going to be able to approach this. I think they need to go in loose and understand, look, you have nothing to lose except for a football game that everybody expects you to lose anyway. So go out there and play as hard as you can, take some shots, learn from the mistakes in the past and try to correct them. That's all you can do, and then see what happens.
We've got Tim Strachan on the line. He is T13 Strachan out on Twitter, covering all things Terps as part of the radio broadcast team, along with Mr. Holiday, who we're going to track down here in the next couple of weeks as well. For Maryland, and obviously the likely situation, Hills was out and Piggy played a little bit. Now he's back in. What do you like about the Terps? I mean, I don't think they're going to win this week. I don't know that you think they're going to win this week, but what's going to go right for them? What do you like about what you're seeing from what they're building? Clearly the run defense is what we don't like right now.
What I like about this team is what I've liked since Durkin got here. Is he has changed the atmosphere. He has changed the focus. He's changed the culture, at least within Gossett Team House. These kids are completely different from what they were a year ago. I think that they have a complete different outlook on the game. They have a complete different outlook on life in general right now. And they're having fun. They were not having fun at this time last year. They were not having any fun, and that was tough to watch. Despite the fact that these kids have had a couple tough losses this year, they're still having fun. They're still in it. They're above 500. That's what I like about them. Because, football, you can sit there and you can write up, a whole bunch of plays and X's and O's on offense and defense and everything. But if the kids aren't having fun and they aren't approaching each week with some enthusiasm and some excitement, then I don't know what the point would be. I really like the way that this team is approaching each week. They have players. They can do good things. And I want to get behind them. I know this is going to be a tough game against Michigan. I know it's going to be a tough slate for the next few weeks, but I want to get behind them, and I enjoy watching them play because right when you think, oh, here we go again, Ty Johnson has a 66-yard touchdown that gets them back into the game, and they have new life. And then they eventually battle back and get the lead. Things didn't work out at the end, but that's football, But years past, that team may have just laid down completely, and it would have been really ugly at the end. But that's not happening with this team, and that's what I love about them the most.
John Harbaugh will be in Owings Mills. Jim Harbaugh will be trying to beat his former compadre in DJ Durkin as we go to the Big House. So, the trip to the Big House, this is from your perspective and a guy that's watched this thing unfold over the last 25 years and making those trips down to Wake Forest and whatnot. Compare the Big House to Florida State or Clemson. It certainly feels bigger than anything ever did in the ACC from a tall task of going in and seeing 110,000 people, right?
But it's a great venue. There's no doubt about it. It's a great venue. It's going to be 100 and some plus thousand people. It's going to be loud. It's going to be intimidating. But don't forget that this Maryland team has a bunch of players on it that went into that house 2 years ago and won. It may have been a down year for Michigan. I don't care. They went in there, they win. So you have kids on this team who are huge contributors in that game that says, guys, it's not a big deal. We went in there and beat them 2 years ago. Don't get taken by the ambiance and the pageantry and how big the crowd is and everything. It's really not even that loud because of the way that the bowl is set up. All the noise kind of escapes. It doesn't reverberate back in. So it's not like the loudest place in the world, but it is 100 plus some thousand people. So it's loud.
And they play that damn fight song.
Yeah, but when you're a player, that stuff doesn't really. Once you're focused in and you're zoned in on the game, that stuff doesn't play a factor. It really doesn't. You're focused on what you're doing. If you can stay focused on what you're doing and get your job done, as long as all 10 guys around you are getting their job done, you never know what's going to happen. So these guys know that they can go in there and win. That's the biggest thing. What happened 2 years ago? I don't think they're going to be all that worried about that peripheral part of the game. They just got to concentrate on what's happening between the white stripes and give it their best. That's all they can ask of themselves, and I think that's all the Maryland fans can ask of the kids.
Tim, am I allowed to gripe right now? Can I make an
Absolutely.
official? I want to gripe, okay? And this has nothing to do with football or Maryland or Michigan this week. But I
don't have to sympathize with you, put it that way.
I am
but I'll
sitting.
listen to you.
Well, yeah, hear me out. I mean, play Dr. Melfi for me. Let me sit on your couch for a minute. This Nebraska game 2 weeks from now, at what point are they going to announce the game time? Because I've noticed I don't even have an Ohio State game time as of Monday, and the game's a week and a half from now. At what point, what's the legality on when they're going to tell you whether we're playing Ohio State at noon, 3, or 7? And the same thing with Nebraska, because I am trying to go out to Lincoln 2 weeks from now to see that game.
So they should come out today with the Ohio State time.
Okay.
However, TV can screw that up and ask for a 6-day reprieve, which means they want to see what happens this weekend, and then they designate a few games that could happen at a different time. So the Nebraska game should be announced
next Monday,
early as next Monday. But again, TV can screw that up and screw up your plan. So keep griping.
I got enough things that can screw up my plans, including cause majeure and weather, missed flights. I have all sorts of things that could get in the way. But I mean, just tell me when we're playing.
Hey man,
just tell me when we're playing.
You're big time. Give a call to ESPN and some of these Big Ten Network and ABC and say, I got to make my plans. Let's do this.
I don't have to for a Learjet here. I
listen to you.
I work on airline schedules. How I do it. Tim Strachan joining us here. Michigan, number 2 in the country. That happens at 3:30. We do know when that one's being played at the Big House on Saturday. Tim will be there calling the action for the Terps Radio Network, and then of course next weekend. Oh, how I hate Ohio State. Number 6 in the country coming down to College Park. I was going to say Cole Fieldhouse, but that'll be for later in the year. And Nebraska lined up at number 9 now the following week. So Terps staring down a trifecta of ugly here in the Big Ten as the Dog Days officially arrive on the backside of a 42-36 loss to Indiana. Tim, we'll be following you out on Twitter, man. Rest up, get out to Ann Arbor. We'll see how it goes out there. If you see Jimmy Harbaugh, tell him I said hello.
I will. Thanks, man.
Always great to have you on. Tim Strachan from the Terps Radio Network joining us here. Luke Jones will be on the backfields in Owings Mills all week long for all things Ravens and Steelers. You got a pretty busy week here. I mean, between World Series games and parades and my wife's donors coming to town this weekend for the Ravens game, so he'll be here for 10 days. We are honoring him on his birthday on the 12th of November. So if you followed my wife's story, and the man who saved her life twice is coming in from Witten, Germany, in the Dortmund, Gelsenkirchen area, and Essen area, Dusseldorf area, coming in this weekend. So we're going to have him around here for 10 days. If you're following us out on social media, it will be a fun journey for you and for him as well. We'll be at the Steelers game on Sunday, watching the Terps play at the Big House on Saturday, and of course, monitoring all the injuries, all the comings and goings of the Ravens this week. Any breaking news will happen first on the WNST text service. That is brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Of course, Dennis will be here on Thursday, driving you home from 3 until 5, getting you ready with the SSV on on WNST. The morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. That is powered up by Planet Fitness and planetfitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. And social media, nasty at WNST.net reaches me. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on Facebook, as well as our YouTube, WNSTV channel. And if you miss anything at all, the Bio Toyota Audio Vault is there for you 24 hours a day. You can download that TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear from wherever you are on your mobile device. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.